Welcome to the Louisiana Department of Education's presentation on production records. Maintaining production records is an important responsibility of child nutrition programs, which are a USDA requirement for the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's regulations for the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program require that school food authorities, SFAs, must maintain daily production records for all school meals. This training provides instruction on how to meet the requirements outlined in 7 CFR 210 and 220 for completing and maintaining production records. Because school food service claims are paid on a meals time rate basis, maintaining production records is an important responsibility of child nutrition programs. As part of the administrative review process, an SFA will be asked to submit production records for an assigned week of menus for review to validate that reimbursable meals were offered and served to all students. Completing production records will help ensure and document that meal pattern component requirements are met for each meal. All meals claimed for reimbursement in the NSLP and SPP program must have food production record documentation as evidence of reimbursable meals provided to participants. Without this documented evidence of reimbursable meals, child nutrition program funding may be jeopardized. Production records provide documentation to support meal claims submitted for reimbursement, help manage the program and communicate necessary information for producing reimbursable meals, demonstrate compliance with nutrition standards. Additionally, production records supply a wealth of information for forecasting products, purchasing food, controlling waste, and identifying popular and not so popular menu items. You may use any production record format you wish as long as it includes certain key items. The following elements of a production record are a USDA requirement. It must include site information, which is the date, the name of the school site, meal site, offer versus serve, if applicable, grade groups. Meal information is the meal service, which is lunch or breakfast, number of meals planned and served by category, meal planning information, which is the menu item, item details, portion size, number of portions planned, meal component contribution. The meal documentation information is the total quantity prepared and number of leftovers. Production records should clearly indicate site and meal information for each meal prepared and served each day. Site information must include at a minimum the date, the site name, the grade group for whom the meal is being prepared. After meal service, the person in charge of the site should review and sign the record to ensure it is complete and accurate and file it for future reference. Meal information must include the meal being offered for the day. The planned meals should be completed prior to meal service, while served meals will be filled out after the meal service is over. In a school where more than one age grade group is served, the information must be very clear. The best way to ensure the information is clear is to keep separate production records for each grade group served. However, some SFAs or software programs generate production records with a format that allows for more than one age grade group on one form. In this scenario, each grade group must be clearly separated for identification of meal requirements and total reimbursable meals served for claiming purposes. In terms of breakfast menus, if multiple age grade groups are served at one school site and all students receive the same breakfast menu and services, one K through 12 menu, along with the applicable serving sizes, may be utilized, and therefore one production record may be completed for all grades in K through 12. You will notice at the top of the breakfast production record that a K through 12 option is available to circle. Meal planning information. Indicate the specific plan menu item choices, food components, milk types, leftovers, substitutes, and any condiments and non-credible food items. Provide details of all food items, components such as recipe number, as applicable, and or the product name and corresponding CN number for the foods used to prepare the menu item. Indicate the actual planned portion size for each food listed based upon the age grade group for which the meal is being produced. This is the actual portion size that is served and or the amount of the serving that contributes to meeting the meal pattern requirements. Indicate the number of portions planned for each menu item for the grade group specified. Include the total number of portions planned to include reimbursable student meal portions, adult meal portion, and extra sale portions. Enter the respective numbers under appropriate meal component heading. Note, if an item is a combination food item, it should be listed in each of the food component categories for crediting toward a reimbursable meal. The primary difference is that serving size refers to the actual physical volume, weight, or piece count of a food item given to a participant, while meal pattern contribution, also known as crediting, is the specific amount of a child nutrition program food component that the serving actually satisfies. The meal pattern contribution tracks how much a food counts toward the required dietary components, such as meat, meat alternate, grain, vegetables, fruit, and fluid milk. Total quantity prepared should include information such as numbers of total pounds or number of cases, with corresponding counts per case, total number of cans, and the can size. Number of leftovers should record the number of portions of food or bulk quantity of food left over based upon the portion sizes. For individual portions, such as hamburger patties, actual count should be recorded. For items such as soup, bulk quantities can be listed such as gallons based upon the corresponding portion size. The number of meals served for each meal type is recorded after meal service. Note, this section is where documentation of the number of student meals claimed for reimbursement is recorded. It is important to remember that this data must come from actual meals counted from eligible participants. This information may be obtained from meal count forms, register tape, or computer software point of service reports. Summary. Planned or projected number of servings to prepare. This is provided by Menu Planner using forecasting tools, reimbursable and non-reimbursable combined. Plan projected quantity of food to use in purchase units. This is forecasted from past production, standardized recipes, and food buying guide. Adjust on day of service if needed. Actual number of servings offered, prepared, provides a total number of servings prepared with any changes from planned which is projected amounts noted as needed. Actual number of servings selected, which is served, provides total number of servings served for each food item on the menu. This provides information for forecasting future meal preparation. Substitutions and leftovers. These are any substitutions for the planned menu that must be recorded. Record the amount of leftovers of each item and planned use. Example, chilled and refrigerated for use in future meal. Freeze for future use in cycle menu or discard. The production record must exactly match the menu. The menu dictates what food components are required, while the production record serves as the official legal and nutritional documentation proving that those exact items were prepared and served in the correct portion size. If you ever make a change to your planned meals, you must update both the menu and the production records accordingly to ensure they align. Discrepancies between what was planned and served and the production records can result in disallowed meals or rejected claims. While production records are the primary responsibility of the school food service manager, the record keeping typically is a group effort which involves the CNP director and or supervisor as the menu planner, and records must be updated throughout the day with the assistance of the school food service clerks, production, and service staff. Also, the CNP director must collect and audit food production records for accuracy to ensure documentation reflects reimbursable meals that were served to the eligible students for accurate meal counting and claiming purposes. Production records must be stored in a secure and accessible location where staff may reference past information and planned information for completion when needed. Production records must be kept on file for 3 years plus the current year. Important points to remember about production records. Production records must be maintained daily for breakfast and lunch to document that reimbursable meals were planned and served. Production record keeping has many benefits, including menu planning, forecasting, inventory control, identifying student preferences, a communication tool, and help to control food waste. Production records are a multi step process, beginning with the planning section prior to meal service and concluding with the documentation section after meal service. Production records must clearly indicate the age grade group served. If multiple age grade groups are served, the record must be built to accommodate multiple age grade groups, or separate production records must be used. All sections of the production record must be completed. Looking at the weight or nutrition facts label on a product, like pizza, for example, will not provide the information required to determine the credible meal pattern contribution: meat alternate, grain, vegetable subgroup, or fruit. In order to document reliable crediting information and ensure valid documentation is available upon audit, a CN label, product formulation statement, or standardized recipe must be maintained on file and specified on the item details on the production record. CN labels, fact sheets, and product labels provide a way for food manufacturers to communicate with school program operators about how their products may contribute to the meal pattern requirements for meals served under USDA's Child Nutrition Program. Note that it is vital that a CN number, product formulation statement, reference name, or recipe name and number must be included in an item's detail on the production record in order for the food items and or components to be credited for the USDA CNP meal pattern. Without this information, an SFA cannot prove that reimbursable meals were served to students for claiming purposes. Additional resources. LDOE has taken feedback from SFAs and the results of findings during administrative reviews to update production record templates for breakfast and lunch. The templates are available in Word format for SFAs to customize to fit the SFA's needs. The templates can be found on the resource library in the CNP website under NSLP Production Record and Templates or SLP Production Record and Template. The Food Buying Guide is the essential resource for food yield information for all child nutrition programs. The Food Buying Guide assists CNP operators with purchasing the correct amounts of foods, determining the contribution that each food makes toward meal pattern requirements. Foods listed in the Food Buying Guide are not required to have a CN label or a manufacturer's product formulation statement. The SFA should document and provide the copy of the Food Buying Guide information that was used to determine the crediting as documentation for the AR. USDA has published the whole grain resource for the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program. This resource will assist you in meeting the whole grain rich criteria. It can be downloaded from the CNP website and is linked to the title at the top of this slide. As discussed earlier in this training, when whole grain rich requirements are met, be certain this is clearly identified for the grain grade item listed on the production record. This is a copy of Exhibit A, Grain Requirements for Child Nutrition Programs. To access this chart online, click the link included in the title of this slide. Groupings of bread grains determine the amount of credit per yield toward meal pattern requirements. This resource also identifies grain-based desserts, which cannot exceed 2-ounce equivalent per week in the NSLP and are not allowed in the after-school snack program. The Institute of Child Nutrition developed a printable poster called Basics at a Glance. This reference should be used as part of meal planning along with production record documentation to ensure correct utensils and smallwares are used based on standardized recipe yield and serving sizes desired for meal service. This resource should be used along with the USDA Food Buying Guide to ensure meals are reimbursable and served correctly. The Basics at a Glance provides recipe abbreviations, volume equivalents for liquids, equivalent weights, ladles to select based on portions for service, pan capacity, etc. As an example, a common error in service and documentation of serving sizes is in determining the correct scoop size to use for a half-cup serving or other volume servings. If production staff is using standardized recipes, but the service staff is often running out of food, the wrong scoop or ladle size could be the problem. To prevent this kind of error, ask CNP production and service staff to use the scoop number guide on the poster to determine the correct scoop to use for the portion size listed on the recipe. If you have any questions, please contact the LDOE Division of Nutrition Support at the number listed above or at childnutritionprograms@la.gov. Thank you and have a wonderful day.